All right, welcome to our SEADLink Member Spotlight. Today we have Elena Pestas. She's an active member who provides outstanding influence and contributions to the Mindful Seed community. So, as a thanks, we are featuring her in this month's SEADLink Member Spotlight. So, welcome, Elena.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Yeah, just to start out, would you be able to share like a quick bio about yourself to give us a quick sense of who you are?
Yeah, so I this is my 17th year in education.
Wow.
Um, yeah. And I previously was a elementary teacher and a middle school teacher. I also have experience working as a behavior strategist, and I'm currently a school counselor, a middle school counselor.
Awesome. Wow, I love to hear that transition. Yeah, I'd love to know, kind of touching on that, what made you decide to become first a school educator and then shift into a school counselor?
So when I was attending the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, I also was a nanny for my sister.
Okay.
And so I was basically like raising my niece and nephew, and I loved working with kids. And so as I was trying to figure out a major, I just thought that it fit seamlessly to, because I loved working with kids, and so I thought, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to be a teacher. So that's what led me to education, the education field.
Yeah, and then can you tell me a little bit about the transition to being a school counselor?
So my first year teaching in in Clark County School District, um, that was the first year I realized that I didn't want to be a teacher. I actually was being called to be a counselor. So what was happening is I was working with in a Title I school with at-risk youth, and they needed a lot of attention, and I couldn't give it to them as my role as a teacher. And so I would refer them to the school counselor, and the school counselor would come in and check in with them each week. And so I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to work one on one with students and be able to sit down and be able to listen to them and talk with them and work with them individually and in groups. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think kind of jumping off that, what you're sharing, what have you enjoyed most about your career?
Um, I love just being an influence, a role model, a mentor to these kids that, um, I just feel honored at the opportunity to be a safe place for them.
Mm,
So, working with kids and in my role, I, you know, I hear a lot about children's home life and their social circles and their own experiences. And so being able to be the person that they turn to when they need somebody to talk to or for guidance or learning different strategies and skills to cope with their lives, it that's what is has been really rewarding for me, just that I get to be that person in their lives.
yeah, for sure. I guess kind of on the flip side of that, what have you found has been your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
The biggest challenge that I find is not being able to change the system in terms of our education system in the United States.
Mm,
Not having SEL as much of a priority as I think it should be, right? Especially after um, the pandemic, right? There's a lot of needs, that social emotional needs that students and staff and parents are dealing with. And I think that has been the biggest struggle, just not being able to change the system, that the way education is.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, speaking of SEL, how did you first learn about it, and what made you decide to become a mindful seed coach?
So I after let's see, I finished my master's in 2009 in counseling. And at that time, it was kind of weaved into a counseling master's program, learning about social emotional learning.
Um, yeah, and then what made you decide to become a mindful seed coach?
So I was actually doing, I had a master's in counseling, and I wanted a different opportunity. I wanted to kind of explore what else I could do with my clinical counseling master's program, or degree, I should say. And so I actually was doing my clinical hours to be a therapist, a psychotherapist in counseling. And so um, I heard about SEL coaching for educators, and I thought, oh, this is something I'm really interested in. And so I became a mindful seed champion. And the coach that I was working with was like, "You are so knowledgeable in this area. Um, I think you would be a phenomenal coach." And so she kind of like put me in touch with Deb, who the Mindful Seed CEO or director. And so that's how I got signed up for Mindful Seed to be a coach.
Nice. Yeah. So how have you found that SEL and mindful seed have helped you as a counselor?
I love the structure of it, right? Like as a therapist and a counselor, I have all these strategies going on in my mind and just in my practice, but to have just the structure of Mindful Seed, and what I love is that it's actually geared for the staff, right? Most of the time, everything that I've done in terms of a social emotional learning has been geared for the students. And so what I love is that, I'm working, these are my peers, these are my colleagues, and I see them suffering from the stress and the day to day, just day to day things that they feel overwhelmed with. And so being able to say, hey, this is something that will really help you, and it's really simple, it just has changed just the climate in my own school. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear for sure. So we have, other SeedLink members watching this. What topics would you like to talk more about with them, with your fellow SeedLink members?
Something that I feel like does not get addressed as much as it should, um, is trauma informed practices and strategies. I've always, not always, but the majority of my experience has been with at risk youth, and they have a high need for social emotional learning, and they're in that community. And so the trauma informed lens for educators, I think, is really important. So they kind of understand what to expect and how to um, find strategies that really help them cope with working in that challenging environment.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a great topic to bring up. And I'm sure, people have great opinions about that and resources and things. Yeah, so if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Um, I would say to not take anything personally.
Hmm, that's
Yeah,
a good one.
yeah, like in most situations where I see adults or children get upset or react or get hurt, is that they take things personally. Um, and so I would say just be calm and know that it's not always about you. It's what people are dealing with that we don't know about. Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes it comes out and makes us feel like we're being attacked when it's has nothing to do with us.
I think that's just great life advice for everyone. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
So, my final question is imagine a day without work, the internet, and any other obligations. What would you do?
I would be traveling in probably in Italy or Greece. I love to travel. In my early 20s, I traveled all over the world. And so there's many places I would like to go explore. So, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Hey, let's go. Let's have some fun. No. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today, Elena, and for being a part of Mindful Seed.
Thank you.